Hello and welcome to the Mech Command RTS December 2016 update. This is our 4-month update, and it's our last update before we press go on a large portion of the game. Particularly the expensive bits like the building molds and miniatures and the LED lights. We have a few things that we wanted to show. We thought it might be a little bit easier to show you by video, so let me just start real quick. We have our final sample from the manufacturer back of the new buildings. Don't worry, they're not actually going to be orange. It's just a test. We just stacked this around a little bit so that now these guys will stack up like this and form sort of a mega building. The reason why that's an added advantage, so now we end up with 3 levels of play, which is pretty cool. And these are a lot more stable than the single hexagon skyscrapers. So there's a lot we can do with that. And the nice part is we don't have to pay any additional mold fees. It's the same mold to have a single level and a triple level. So we did have to take out one of the struts, but these things are still crazy sturdy, and we get to squeeze in a few more because it lightens up some of the dimensions of the box. We save a little bit of space, and we also end up with this absolutely gigantic game component. So that turned out really well. And so that's the final thing we wanted to see. We have already transferred the funds. As soon as it arrives, they'll begin the production of those buildings. Next up we have the final LED. This is actually, it's close to final, but we're not going to do any more samplings or any more waiting behind. We really wanted to start these at the end of last month, so it works great. It's all turned out really, really well. It's extremely sturdy. It's a little bit heavier than we originally planned. This is, the manufacturer had not purchased has not done the bulk order for his red LED bulbs, just the blue ones, so we just had him put the blue in for now, but this is the actual final bulb. It's even a little bit brighter than before. And they took down the resistor. They took down the resistor a little bit, and it's made it a little bit brighter. This is under really strong, powerful film lights. That's a little bit more accurate of regular overhead lights, but it hasn't affected the battery consumption. It's still about 14 to 18 hours of playtime, depending on apparently the color of the LED bulb. The only difference is that between this and the final sample is this. We've created a little bit of an inset, just a 0.5 millimeter inset for you to put on this metal sticker. Now the game will come with these metal stickers. They're very, very thin. We mostly just created the inset so that you could, it's just to help you center it. It was kind of hard to center these without some sort of guide. The bottom's now has 3 screws in it, which we didn't actually ask for these, but the manufacturer that's sort of part of their, it's kind of what they wanted to do, and apparently it will help us with customs. The screws are actually totally unnecessary. If I were to change the batteries out, I probably would not ever put them back in. Here, I'll show you. As you can see, it's such a tight fit. You don't need the screws to hold it in at all. So, so these are ready to go now too, and we're going to press go on these as soon as we're going to transfer the funds on this week, and then they should begin they'll create the mold, which will only take them about 2 weeks, and then they can begin construction on all of these at the beginning of January. They also took this switch down a little bit, just made some different improvements. And it's just a really solid, great game component, and we're very pleased with it. It's going to work out really great. We finally got the final mold to test from a miniature to test the new peg and slot system and magnetic attachment system. Let me show you how this will work. So this is the final test that we're going to do before we pressing go on almost all the miniatures. The only exception is the behemoth, the turret, and the engineer, so we're going to just make a few little tweaks too. We just needed to make sure that our planned attachment system would definitely work, and that the peg and slot system would work. So this is going to come in 4 pieces. arm, torso, and legs. Now this is designed to, well here, let me first show you the base. So we've added this circular base, so now it will just stand up on its own. And we created a indentation, and then this is really a place for the magnet. And these are the adhesive magnets that you will apply unless we find a slightly bigger one to fill up this space a little bit more. But these are the ones that Wingo has found for us. So we've created the peg and slot system works beautifully. It's nice and they're big enough that you can really, it makes it a little more substantial. And then we created these so that there's an extra gap in there so that you can use magnets if you don't want to glue it. So you can just glue all these together because it is just cosmetic. But by using the magnets in there, it's just a little more tight. Now it's not going to be as tight as if you glued it, but it keeps the option so you can take out, exchange arms and weapons between the torsos and the legs. And if you really want to be more realistic while you're playing, when you blow off an arm, you can actually remove it. But that's entirely optional. These magnets will not be enough to like pick up the base with it, but it does help keep it just more solid. Otherwise it could be flopping around because they are just 4mm pegs. What the real great part is the magnet system works beautifully. So it goes on so easily. You'll be able to exchange it between LED bases on the fly, as well as the turrets. The turrets use these as well. And then look how well it holds it. And so you can be moving around, boosting, going on top of buildings, and the whole time it'll come right off when you want it to, and then sticks when you need it to. So that's turned out absolutely better than our expectations, and we will be pressing go on all that as well. So we have postponed the pledge manager. We'll go into the details of that below. It's mostly a internal packaging uncertainty. We have multiple elements coming from different factories. We have the miniatures and the buildings and the LED lights, which all have their own packaging, which will be going into the main board game box. And we just haven't been able to lock down the specifics of that just yet. And that'll affect shipping, and that affects the pledge manager. But otherwise, we have used up a little bit of our buffer, but we've got a lot more buffer to go. I think we're still looking pretty solid on a July distribution. So if you have any ideas or comments, please leave them. This game is for you and the remaining 850 Kickstarter backers. We really appreciate you sticking with us and sticking by us. We're very excited to get this game into your hands, and we'll update you next once the components start coming off the line. Bye for now.